So yes, I am pregnant. Pregnant with my 6th child. This is gonna be my 4th baby daddy. Yes, it's true. Yes, I am homeless. I'm homeless. I'm living out of my car. I'm living out of hotels. I'm living from pillar to post, okay? I have no job. Yes, I have no job, okay? We listen and we don't judge. I have no job. I'm 35 years old, living out of my car, pregnant, not with the baby daddy, by myself. Could life get any worse? Possibly. I mean, I could step out tomorrow and get hit by a car. And then we're in the hospital. Shit, that would not be good. So the next time somebody comes to my comments asking me questions, refer back to this video. Yes, I know I'm old as okay? Got a hell of a lot of kids. I'm homeless. And I'm broke. But guess what? I'm still alive and I'm living and I'm grateful and I can see and I can hear and I can smell and I can enjoy my babies. And I'm living and I'm healthy. I have my health. So yes, it's hard. My life's a mess. But the great thing about being at the bottom is the only way is up, huh?
Hi lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Belinda Verse or Belly Dirt channel. Don't forget to please subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications so that anytime I upload videos, you will be the first person to be notified. To my returning subscribers, to those people that share my videos, leave commentaries, and educate each and every one of us, you guys are the real MVP. So lovelies, I'm gonna be your today's host, and I have so many statistics to put up here, and we're gonna come out to talk about it. Alright lovelies, let's dive into today's video.
When you look at her tattoos, that's the main thing that I started focusing on after the shock and awe of the whole story, because sometimes I just be trying to figure out how people could even find themselves in a situation this deep, this dark. Like even just me by myself, sometimes at portions of my life, I was just trying to make sense of how I got here and what the hell was going on. And it was just, man, it's hard or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But eventually you pull yourself out, and it's difficult pulling yourself out when you by yourself or when you just have, you got a small daughter and you got a wife and it's just y'all three and you trying to hustle up and get to it, right? But when you start to think about this type of stuff, and again, Tattoo said that she was from Los Angeles on her arm over there. And this is why our culture and why Trump has to come in and say, all right, listen, if y'all don't continue to try to do something for yourself, and if you're not going to take responsibility, we can't keep just continuing to feed this monster, this demon, because it's a lot of people like her, both black and white, that use welfare, government assistance, keep getting pregnant. She says listen, y'all, she's pregnant again. I don't even remember exactly how many children that she had. I think she had 6 kids with 4 different fathers, and she's pregnant again, and she's homeless trying to figure it out, but life can't get no worse. But that's not stopping you from opening your legs. You know what I'm saying? Like, how are poor people having sex? That is my number one question a lot of times. Like, how do you have sex as a poor person? Now, I get it. Poor people have the majority of the children, and I'm not saying it in
Americans cannot afford to live at all, okay? I just had a conversation with some co-workers, and they told me that some of their family members are actually living in their cars, right? They're living in cars to save money, right? They shower at the gym, and they just sleep in their cars to save money and all that stuff because the rent is way too high. It's like nobody can afford to live. The only people that can afford to live, that can afford food and rent, comfortably is you got to be making like near $1 million, at least $500,000. Because even people that are 6-figure earners, depending on where you live, they are struggling like crazy. But check this out. These are Americans living in their cars, yo.
Making brekkie in a grocery store parking lot. I eat off the pan because less dishes. Somewhere. Day 37 of living in our car. We've been living in our car for 37 days. It's been very hard.
I shared yesterday that I've moved into my Subaru because I refuse to sign another lease and give tens of thousands of dollars to millionaire property management companies that I hate. Fuck capitalism. So here are some answers to questions that you guys had about how I'm doing this. Question was, where do I shower? I know a lot of people get gym memberships. I haven't done that yet because I haven't needed to do that. I'm in a little bit of a special situation where my family lives pretty close by where I'm at. They're like 40 minutes away, and they live on a boat now. And so I have access to like the marina showers. I just need their key fob.
Okay, boom. I've been living in my car since May 13th, about 2 months and some change. Let's talk about it. So I bought this car knowing that I was probably going to have to make a tough decision. I do freelance work and video, and a lot of the money will come in late, as any freelance knows.
So how far is this gonna get? Like, is this the new lifestyle? Are we gonna do absolutely nothing about housing? Right? Is there gonna be just no affordable housing at all? Like no $500, $700 apartments? None of that? Everything's just gonna keep being more and more and more expensive? Because right now there are about 3 million Americans, and you can Google this, right? You can do the research. Google it. There are about 3 million Americans living in their cars or van life, right? And those numbers are going up because people just can't afford anything. Everything's just way too expensive. Something has got to change. Something has got to snap. Something has got to crack. Okay? We cannot have our families living in cars, dude.
Millions and millions of people in America do not have anywhere to live. They do not have homes. And millions of people in America have resorted to living in their cars. And yet there is houses and apartments that are empty. Why is this? Because this is the epitome of capitalism. People in America, the rents are so high that they cannot afford to live in a home. And so most people, when you get a job, what you do, you buy a car in which you live in. This is the global king, if you like, of capitalism. These are the people who have gone round the world destroying countries, trying to enforce democracy and capitalism. And America is a failed state. Make no mistake about it, it's a failed state. The numbers of homeless people in America is catastrophic. The number of people living in cars is even bigger. And yet, a lot of people around the world think that they're going to get to America to make that American dream. It is just that. It's a dream. It doesn't exist.
You guys, oh my God, watch this.
So I have a message for all of the young people in America who are finding it hard to survive. I just became aware of some very, very troubling information, and it's something that we are seeing happen throughout this country. Young Americans are living in their car because they can't afford to have apartments, or their jobs don't pay enough to be able to eat and afford their bills. So a lot of people talk about the situation, the van life, and if you ever go to a truck stop, you will see these cars parked out there with young Americans living in them, because that's where they can get their showers, that's where they can shave, that's where they can, get food and kind of, be around somewhere where people are not looking to harm you. It's a truck stop, right? So I'm making this video today because I want to make you guys aware of a way that you can quickly turn around your situation. And this is going to be a long rant, but it's going to tie in to a certain individual that will make a major change in this country coming soon. But you need to put yourself in position, especially if you are young, to benefit from that massive change in the way we are compensated in this country. But here's what I have to say to anybody young that's already in a situation where you're living in your car. Okay? There are ways. There is a certain industry that you can jump into right now to where you will not have to worry about having a roof over. If you're going to live in your car, you might as well make $100,000 and something while living in your car and stack that money. You know what I mean? So I'm saying this because it is easier for anybody, as long as you are, I think it's 21 years of age or older, to become a truck driver, a over-the-road truck driver. Why would you do that, right? Well, they're going to give you a truck that you're going to be living in that truck, right? But as you turn those wheels, you will get paid. The reason I'm saying this is a quick turnaround is because there are companies that will give you your truck driving license in 2 weeks. Doesn't matter if you're male or female. If you have a decent driving record, you can be rolling in 2 weeks, right? And this is why this is very important. If you go out there and work for maybe a year or two, stacking all your money, because you're not going to be paying rent, you're going to be living in that truck. I mean, it sounds horrible, but in 2 or 3 years, you will come out on top, especially if somebody is getting ready to get rid of the payroll tax in this country. I don't know if you guys heard that. So that means that all of your money will be, whatever you make, it will be coming into your bank account. The only thing that will go higher is the sales tax. So now imagine making that $100,000. You're being at a low point in your life right now. Start making $100,000 a year, living in that truck for 2 years, right? The payroll tax has been abolished. So now you come out 2 years later, you're coming out with $300,000 in the bank, and you're able to, put that down on a house. At that point, you will be better off than a lot of people who didn't make that sacrifice. So I just wanted to give some encouragement to the youth and give you a way that within 2 weeks, you can have your license in 2 weeks and do a complete turnaround in your life and be on a path to greatness within the next 3 years. So peace and love, and you guys are in my prayers, and this country should not be like this, but we have to give you guys ways to survive out here and eventually not have to be living in a car and not have to be living in a truck. And you can do that right now if you do your research and get behind the wheel of a big rig. Peace and love, and deuces.
A home sweet home.
For more than 2 months, 76-year-old David Turner says he's been living, eating, and sleeping in his car.
The expense of everything is just crazy.
On good days, he drives to the Charlottetown Marina to greet tourists.
Welcome to PEI, sir.
Turner says his debt mounted, and after a couple months behind on rent, his landlord evicted him. Still, he feels more fortunate than others because he has a pension. It helps, but not enough to rent right now.
Seniors are struggling because of the cost of living, the cost of rent, the lack of affordable housing.
Seniors 65 and older made up nearly 5% of users at emergency shelters like this one behind me last year. That's up from 3.3% in 2000.
Did you know that 1 in 5 people living in the Atlantic in Canada have poverty-level living standards? And it's higher than any other region in Canada. Of course, nobody wants this for anyone in Canada, and it shouldn't exist in our country. Why is it that Canada could spend $1.1 billion housing asylum seekers in our country, and then set aside another $1.1 billion in the 2024 budget for more housing for asylum seekers? It would put them up in hotel rooms, facilities where they house asylum seekers with mental health services on site. At what point is enough and we start taking care of our own? This is a gentleman who's worked his whole life, paid taxes his whole life, and is now out on the street. But yet we have enough funding to house people who have never paid a single dollar in tax in our country. Someone please make that make sense. It's insane.
So yes, she said it. Pregnant, 6th child, 4th baby daddy, homeless, no job, living out of her car, no roof, no partner, no stability. 35 years old, sitting in her car speaking to the world with honesty that most people can't even handle. And the world stopped to listen. Some laughed, some sympathized, and some got angry. But no one could look away, because deep down, what she said isn't just her story, it's America's story. It's the reflection of a system that has been cracking for decades, where millions of people fall through the cracks and are told it's their fault. Let's talk about that because behind this woman's confession is something much bigger than her individual choices. It's a mirror held up to Americans' face, to the so-called land of opportunity, where opportunity has become a luxury and survival is the new American dream. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't dress it up in inspirational quotes. She said, I'm broke, I'm homeless, I have kids, and I'm still grateful. That sentence right there, that mix of despair and resilience, tells you everything about the American spirit and the American strategy. Because how does someone in the richest country on earth end up living in a car, pregnant with nowhere to go? How do we have millions of empty houses sitting unused why millions of people sleep in their vehicles, tents, and shelters? That is not coincidence. That is capitalism at work. Not the shiny, motivational kind they sell you in high school or social media, but the cold, cruel version that values profit over people. Let's be honest, America loves to sell dreams. The dream of the big house, the dream of the two-car garage, the dream of working hard and making it. But what happens when the cost of that dream becomes unreachable? When rent goes from $800 to $2,500? When grocery bills triple, when you need 2 or 3 jobs just to survive, and you are still behind? That's not a dream anymore. That is a nightmare dressed in patriotic colors. And this woman's story is as strategic as it sounds, is not an isolated case. It's the reality for millions. There are other 500,000 homeless people in America right now, and that is just the official number. The real figure way higher. Millions more are what they call the hidden homeless. People living in cars, couch surfing, or in motels. People who technically have a roof but not a home. So when she says she's living in her car, she's not alone. She's part of an entire underclass that capitalism doesn't want to acknowledge. Now let's talk about reactions because this story didn't just spark sympathy, it sparked a division. Some people, especially from working class black communities, said, we get it, we have been there. They saw her pain and understood the grind. They saw a woman, despite her choices, is still standing, still fighting, still grateful for breath because black America knows struggle. Generational struggle, you grow up learning to survive systems that were never built for you. But then, on the other side, some white Americans reacted with shock, not because homelessness is new, but because the system they trusted is finally turning on them too. And that is what is scary. When both black and white Americans start realizing they are fighting the same battle against a system that keeps people desperate, and keeps people divided. Homelessness doesn't care about race. Poverty doesn't check your skin color before it crushes you. The only color that matters in capitalism is green, money. Here's the thing. America has enough homes for every homeless person in the country. You heard that right. There are more empty houses than homeless people. But those houses hasn't been opened. They are investments. They are sitting empty because investors and corporations own them, waiting for property values to rise. That's capitalism in its rawest form. Houses are for profit, not for people. Healthcare is for profit, education is for profit, even water in some places is for profit. And then we wonder why so many people are drowning in debt, drowning in depression, drowning in hopelessness. Capitalism doesn't fail by accident. It builds to fail the poor that so that the rich can keep winning. Now let's look at the from another angle, the woman's side. A pregnant woman living in her car carrying her sixth child, that image alone should break your heart. But instead, the internet mocked her. People say she made bad decisions. People say she shouldn't have had so many kids. People says where are the fathers? And yes, accountability matters, but empathy matters more. Because we can talk about personal responsibility all day, but what about social responsibility? What about a system that forces mothers into possible situations where childcare costs more than rent, where minimum wage can't even cover a single bedroom, where pregnancy itself is a financial risk? This isn't about her being lazy. This is about a society that treats women, especially single mothers, as disposable. And yet, look at her. Despite everything she said she is grateful. She said, I can still see, I can still smell, I can still enjoy my babies. That kind of resilience is something money can't buy. Let's break this down further. Living in cars isn't new anymore, it's a lifestyle for some people. You will find entire park lots full of families, moms, dads, kids sleeping in vans, keeping their doors locked, washing in gas station bedrooms, charging phones in MC Donuts. They work, many of them work. They deliver food, they drive Uber, they clean offices, they stock shelves and still can't afford rent. When working full time doesn't get you housing, that is not a personal failure, that is a societal one. Here's the irony. America loves to point fingers, loves to talk about first countries, third world nations, backward economies. But tell me, how does the richest country in the world have millions of people without homes? Why housings still empty? How does the land of freedom lock people into poverty with credit, debt, and rent? That is not freedom, that is financial slavery. And people overseas, Africans, Asians, Latin Americans, they are watching this and realizing the American dream isn't real. It's a commercial, a slogan, a promise that only works if you're already rich or already lucky. Here's what is powerful though. This moment has forced both black and white Americans to face the same truth. It's no longer about race, it's about class, it's about survival. When you strip away the labels, you see one America, the working class, the homeless, the exhausted, the unseen. And in that, there is hope because when people realize they are not enemies but victims of the same system, that is when change begins. Back to the woman, her words hit differently because she didn't end in the despair. She said, my life's a mess, but I'm grateful I'm alive. That line, the great thing about being at the bottom is the only way up is up. That is something a lot of people need to hear because when you lost everything, money, home, comfort, and you still find a reason to be thankful, that is not weakness, that is power. It's not toxic positivity, it's survival. This isn't just about one woman. This is about a country at a crossroad where millions of people are one paycheck away from homelessness, where billionaires fly to space while families are asleep in cars, where politicians argue about budgets while mothers give birth in shelters. This is the America the world doesn't see. The America behind the filters and slogans, and whether you are black or white, rich or poor, conservative or liberal, you can't deny that something is deeply broken. So what do we take from all this? We take the lesson that the American dream has to be rebuilt from the ground up. That empathy must come before judgment. That housing isn't a privilege, it's a right. That survival shouldn't depend on your credit score or your luck. And that maybe, just maybe, this woman's video isn't just a cry for help. It's a wake-up call for everyone because when she says she's homeless but grateful, she reminded us that even in the ruins of capitalism, humanity still survives. She might be at rock bottom, but she's also proved that the human spirit, no matter how beaten, never fully breaks. That is American real story, not the dream, the reality. And until that reality changes, her voice will echo, not just as a confession, but as a prophecy of where the world is heading if nothing changes.
And if you have watched up to this extent, don't forget to please leave me your own thought in the comment section of what you think of this video. And please do not forget that we do not support any form of bullying and harassment. We are just here for educational and informative purposes. So lovelies, why not just share your thought? Subscribe to this channel if you're yet to do that, and I will see you lovelies when I upload the next one.